What's going on, YouTube? So the Carnival serves as the most practical offering in Kia's lineup, with plenty of space for the whole family.
And today we're with the latest 2027 model, which has updates to improve both the practicality and the style of this model.
So what's new for 2027, and how does this stack up against the rivals? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, let's start off this review under the hood with a quick spec dump. You can continue to get gas and hybrid options. We have the gas option, a 3.5 liter V6 engine, making 290 horsepower. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, it's front wheel drive only, and the combined fuel economy of the gas model is 21 mpg.
Now the base price in 2027 is $37,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we'll show you the performance of this V6 under the hood, but first we need to go ahead and shut up the hood, take a look at the exterior, and discuss the 2027 enhancements.
Now jumping in with the exterior design, this Carnival has always been pretty stylish for a van, that's for sure, and it recently was updated. Those same enhancements will carry over for 2027 with a update though. You could get a dark edition on just the fully loaded SX Prestige, but for 2027 that now expands to the mid-level EX trim level. I certainly appreciate being able to add the blacked out elements to that mid-level at a more affordable price tag. Now, as far as the elements, of course, up here in the front, you got that tiger nose grille, mostly blacked out, but we have little silver accents for the SX and SX Prestige, Kia logo up top, and then a little bit of gray finish down here at the bottom. As far as the lighting is concerned, you'll have standard full LED headlights on all models. These are reflector LEDs unless you get the fully loaded SX Prestige, which will upgrade you to projector LEDs, and then you've got the very large daytime running light. Finally, down here at the bottom, you get LED fog lights on SX and SXP. Now as we move around to the back, I think this is where it looks the most like an SUV, which I think is a big contributor to how successful this product has been.
Absolutely, and let's break down some of those individual design touches. So we have the spoiler right up here at the top. A wiper is integrated underneath. I like that. It gives you that really clean overall aesthetic. And let's take a look at our taillights. So our taillights are going to be partially LED. So as you can see, we do have an LED accent strip. However, our actual brake light and reverse light down here and turn signal are all going to be incandescent. I kind of wish they had maybe updated that to make more of the trim levels have a full LED taillight, but you can get that. It's just on the fully loaded example. Now as we drop down to the lower fascia, a little bit of matte black with some silver accenting. The gas model tows 3,500 pounds, or the hybrid tows 2,500 pounds.
For your wheel options, those will range in size from 17 to 19-inch alloys. EX and above will get the 19-inch alloys, including this SX. As you can see, we have a gloss black finish on board, which I think looks pretty nice overall. Moving up here to our mirrors, we have kind of a gray finish on top. You have standard heating and blind spot monitoring on all trims of the Carnival, and then power folding on the mid-level EX and above.
Now at the side of the Carnival, overall vehicle length is 203 inches, which does mean it's about 4 inches longer than a Kia Telluride for reference, and it's a good size for a minivan. In terms of design, we do have roof rails up here at the top. That's going to be on SX and SXP. You also have this very unique pillar design right through this area. For 2027, you add a new color. It's called Iceberg Green, and you do get rid of a red color for 2027. Now when it comes to your safety systems, you get all of those as standard equipment. It's a minivan after all. You need to have your family being safe. That will even include things like adaptive cruise control with Highway Drive Assist 1.0. Additionally, if you choose the SX or above, that will give you Highway Drive Assist 2.0, which allows for some automatic lane changing. But guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside where there's a pretty big update. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's check out the interior. First, here's our key fob. It's a typical Kia key fob. You have smart entry standard on all models, as well as remote start, and digital key is on your top end examples. Now, as you walk up to the model, it senses your approach and folds the mirrors outward. You can just grab behind the handle that will unlock the door. And then let's check out the interior. Eagle-eyed viewers might notice a 2027 change right from the start, but I'm not going to talk about that just yet. I want to talk about the seats first and foremost. So this will begin with a cloth seat on your LX trim. All the middle trims will come with a leatherette, and then finally your top SXP will come with a real leather seat. Since we have the SX, this is the leatherette. It's a really nice and high quality leatherette with perforation and nice stitching details. We have a two-tone finish as well, so we have the light gray as well as the navy all throughout the interior, which is a pretty fancy color scheme. Down below, you'll have a power adjusting seat on all but the base LX with four-way lumbar support, and memory seats will be included on EX and above. Let's climb inside. Now, closing up the door, let's look around at the rest of the cabin materials. Starting out on the door trim, we have leatherette for our armrest portion as well as above it. Soft touch plastic through here, and then kind of a faux aluminum through the center section. Moving up top, we have a leatherette with a stitching detail. More of the faux aluminum runs across the center section, and then down here at the bottom, it's not going to be padded, but it does have the two-tone finish matching with the seats. Now we'll fire it up with the standard push-button start. And now it's time to get into the individual details, starting with the gauge cluster. As always, we've got the 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster. This starts on the SX trim and above, and it unlocks some additional customization as well as the blind spot camera system. Now, if you want a head-up display, though, that does require the fully loaded SX Prestige. And then let's pull back to this. That's what I was referring to earlier. We have a new steering wheel design for 2027. Previously, you had that kind of circular steering wheel. Now we have a steering wheel I think looks the most similar to the Kia EV9. It's a little squared off on the top and bottom, but not fully squared off, and it has a nice thick feel in the hand. Definitely like it overall. It's manual tilt and telescoping, and you also have steering wheel heating on top examples. Now, let's turn over here to our center storage and take a look at that, because that's very important for a van. So inside this center console, we have 19 donuts for our signature donut test. That is going to be less than the full 24 donuts that a lot of the rivals offer. But again, that's because this does have a more SUV-like center console area, and it's still very deep overall. Now you've got a little storage cubby there, 2 cup holders, and then some more storage right through there, but just be aware, again, you don't have any type of center pass-through or anything like that. One of the reasons why is because you have a traditional shifter on your gas models. You're just going to pull back for drive, bump over here if you want to shift manually. There are no paddle shifters. And then when we go into reverse, SX and above comes standard with a 360-degree camera system. As you can see, nice trajectory and overhead view. You can also click there to go into a 3D view as well. You have your electronic parking brake with auto brake hold next to that. And then behind that is where you'll find your seat climate controls. All but the very base LX will come with heated seats, and then you also will get ventilated seats on the SX and SX Prestige models. Now let's rise into this center section where we come to our climate controls. So this has a 3-zone automatic climate system. You just use this knob here to make your temperature adjustments up and down, and you can also activate the rear climate from up here in the front of the cabin. Now, like a few other Kia products, if you press there, that kind of magically turns the climate controls into your audio controls instead. So you'll have either a 6, 8, or 12-speaker Bose sound system. We have the middle option, the 8-speaker sound system. Let's give that a sample right now. Overall sound quality is pretty solid. I definitely like that it has a good bass heavy sound system, even without choosing the Bose sound system on just the top end model. So if you're not big into music, you'll probably be plenty satisfied with this. All right, now we'll take a look at the main infotainment system. This side is also 12.3 inches. It comes with Kia's CCNC software. So that means you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard equipment. It also has built-in navigation, which you can see right there. And then I will scroll over here to that right there, passenger view, so I can show off the camera system. You can see Mason's back there and Josh in the third row. We can zoom in and you can monitor your kids and whatnot. With this camera on the EX trim and above, you also have an intercom system as well. Rising above, we've got the available auto dimming mirror with HomeLink remote. A digital camera rear view mirror is on the fully loaded model. And then finally, the SX and the SXP come standard with this dual panel sunroof. So actually you've got a traditional size up here in the front, and then I can press that button right there and that will open up, fully open up a second sunroof. That's right, it actually opens up for the second and third row. That's super rare. You don't see that even on most luxury SUVs.
But honestly, the reason why a lot of people buy minivans is here in the rear seat. So let's talk about this. I want to start with the space. So what we're sitting at is 40.5 inches of legroom and 39.5 inches of headroom. Both of those figures are going to be very good numbers. Although it's not, the biggest minivan you can get, it's still tons of room. And the reason I brought along the official Car Confections ruler is so you can get a realistic knee room figure. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8" and I'm 5'9", and look at that. We're sitting at a full foot of knee space. That is absolutely fantastic. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of these seats, and of course these seats do have a lot of adjustment as well. So in typical minivan fashion, you can slide it forward all the way to basically touch the front seat, which is very good if you need to easily access a baby or something like that. And then you can also recline the seat a really good distance to really maximize your comfort and overall legroom. Now, there have been some changes for 2027. As a matter of fact, we have one of those changes. So the EX and SX trim levels can now get the captain's chairs, which is obviously what we have selected on this model. That means overall seating capacity is going to be 7 passengers as compared to 8 passengers if you get the bench seat here in the middle. Now let's talk about some of the other features. We have 2 cup holders right up here at the top. We have a household style outlet. We have a 12-volt outlet as well. Down below there, we have a little storage cubby. We have USBs that are going to be integrated in both of the seat backs. And then over here on the right-hand side is your climate control panel. So I guess put your favorite kid on the right side and they can adjust the climate right there. Additionally, you do have a switch right here that will allow you to open the moonroof independent from the front. So I like that they actually give you the switch to do that on your own back here. And we have the vents that come out of the ceiling, which is good for, car seats and stuff. And then over here on the door, we have rear window sunshades. Those are included on EX trim levels and above. A power sliding door with kickability is also standard across every single Carnival. And there's a little bit of door storage down in the bottom. And before I check out the third row, I do want to point out another 27 change, and that is if you're looking for the rear seat entertainment system, that is only going to be available on the SX Prestige with the VIP package in hybrid powertrain. You can no longer get that in the gasoline variant this year. And if you do check that package off, that's going to give you seat heating and ventilation as well as full power adjustment here in the rear to really make your overall experience super bougie. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the third row. In order to do that, all you do is grab this little lever. That's going to allow the seat to slide out of the way. It does move the seat back though, so you may have to remove a child's seat. Let's go ahead and hop back here into the third row itself. So what we're looking at in terms of third row room is really quite good. 35 inches, almost 36 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. That does mean it's going to be a couple inches smaller as compared to the Toyota Sienna and Honda Odyssey if third row room is your main concern. However, it is still plenty of space. As you can see, I brought my ruler back here as well. We still have 2 inches of additional knee room, and this seat is slid all the way back. Of course, you could slide it forward quite a bit more. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seats, and the thigh support is absolutely fantastic back here. It really feels super, super comfortable. There are 3 seats across back here. You have 2 cup holders on each side, a little storage cubby, a USB port. You're even going to have third row window sunshades on EX and above, and then up here at the very top you have vents that are going to be located right there. The rear glass, makes it feel not too claustrophobic back here at all. So if you're curious as to how it rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for a king. Walking up to the tailgate, it is manual on the very base LX model, and if you choose anything besides that, you will get a hands-free power one. And let's go ahead and talk about overall cargo capacity, because I think you'll be very impressed with what you're going to find back here. So what we're sitting at is 40 cubic feet behind the third row, 86 cubic feet with the third row folded down, and 145 cubic feet of space with all of the seats folded down. That is going to be a really good figure for a minivan. It's going to be significantly larger than the Sienna as a maximum and very much on par with an Odyssey. Speaking of all the competitive minivans that you could be looking at, you should go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've gone through and ranked each minivan in individual categories, things like cargo capacity, third row, interior luxury, technology, powertrain choices, and value. And you can sort the categories based on what's most important to you to see the best options in each of those categories to really make an informed buying decision. Minivans are very competitive, so you should definitely take a look at that before you make your purchase. Now, as far as the third row itself, in order to fold it down, it is very simple. So all you have to do is grab this little lever right here, and that's going to allow the seats to go down. Of course, I do have my headrest up right now, so I'm going to have to go ahead and move those down a little bit. And now we can easily fold those seats down into that pit right there. And that's going to give you a pretty flat loading floor, of course, besides the seats. You can also fully remove those seats if you would prefer. And let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figure. So as far as overall cargo length behind Drew's driving position, we are looking at 94 inches. That is a ton of space. From behind the second row with them slid all the way back in their tracks, 58 inches of length. And from behind the third row, you can expect about 26 inches of length. As far as the opening, that's a really wide 48 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and get your height figure for you with the third row folded down. That's still really good at 39 inches. But of course, one of the, party tricks of a minivan is that you have that super deep pit so you can stack things like suitcases. And overall height when you do that is a whopping 52 inches. That's really as good as it gets in any vehicle that you can buy on the market. Now, as far as the load-in height, that's also very solid at only 26 inches, so you won't have to, load things in too high off the ground. We have a household outlet over here on the right-hand side. There's also going to be a few storage cubbies back here. You have a spare tire on the gasoline variants, but if you get a hybrid, while that won't affect the cargo space, that does mean you delete the spare tire. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2027 Kia Carnival. In this test drive, we'll be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration before we get things like our sound level reading.
Alright, that takes us up to 60 miles per hour with the Carnival. So overall acceleration is pretty good for this type of vehicle. Of course, when it comes to the van segment, there's not as many offerings as there used to be, but it's still, pretty good to have that V6 and the hybrid option, because increasingly you either just have one or the other. Yep. In the case of the Sienna, it's just the hybrid. The Pacifica got rid of the hybrid this year, so it's kind of, one of the only, I guess it is the only one that has both options at this point, which I really like.
Yeah, I think it's really good to have the power of choice, because for some people, this 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 with 290 horsepower is going to be the great best powertrain selection for them. As you can see with that acceleration, it really does accelerate nice and smooth. I have to say, I love a refined, smooth V6, and that is exactly what you find on board here with the Carnival. Now, they are also offering the hybrid for those of you that are a little bit more concerned about fuel economy. That's going to get 241 horsepower out of a 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder plus electric components and 270 pound-feet of torque. Now, we've had the privilege of living with that one for a full week, and we like that powertrain, that's for sure. It's going to be adequate power for the vast majority of people, but it does not quite give you the level of refinement or power delivery that this V6 does give you, and it does cost a bit more.
Yeah, so those are all things to keep in mind, and this is going to be the quicker of the two. This has a 0 to 60 of about 7 seconds versus 7.8 seconds, and we'll talk about fuel economy in just a moment. Now, also nice and smooth is the 8-speed automatic transmission for the gas model. You get a 6-speed automatic on the hybrid model. And again, very smooth. Certainly when you're just driving around town, it's something that blends into the background.
Yeah, I have to say, compared to, if you follow the channel, you know that we own a 2027 Kia Telluride, the all-new generation. I really like this V6. Honestly, spending some time with this Carnival V6 makes me kind of wish that that was the powertrain that we had in our Telluride, just because it is so smooth and so refined, that is for sure. Now, also smooth and refined is your ride quality and how quiet the cabin is. So once we get up to 55 miles per hour, we'll go ahead and get a sound level reading so we can see just how quiet it is inside of here. Now we have it on fan speed 1 and the rear climate is powered off, so let's go ahead and see how quiet it is. 51.7 was our final number here on the Carnival SX. Now, we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the rivals. We can find all the other minivans on our website, carconfections.com/sound level readings. And, you know, when I look at those numbers, that is really going to be exceptionally good. Now, it doesn't quite beat the Toyota Sienna. I will say that that model, the most recent one that we tested out, that actually is the class leader when it comes to the sound level reading. However, this is the second quietest minivan, and it's by a pretty significant margin. The Honda Odyssey is going to be significantly louder. This really does feel like a luxury experience inside of this cabin. It's super, super quiet. Also, the ride quality, that's another piece of that. So as we, kind of transition to the rougher pavement here, you'll see that you have really excellent ride quality for the Carnival. When you hit a bump in the road, it does a fantastic job of soaking things up. Really, of course you expect that out of a minivan, but the Carnival does a phenomenal job. The seats are also super comfortable, and compared to our Telluride, I would say this definitely is maybe a step above when it comes to the ride quality, especially with the smaller wheels on this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think a lot of that is probably attributed to the smaller wheels, because these top out at 19s and the Telluride has 21-inch alloys.
Now, I'm sure you're wondering about fuel economy, because that's important, especially as gas prices go up. The gasoline model is rated at 18, 26, 21 mile per gallon combined for 2027 model year, and the hybrid actually goes up 1 mpg, probably just due to difference in the EPA testing for 2027, and that's rated at 33 miles per gallon combined. So yes, it is about a 12 mpg difference between the hybrid and the gasoline variant, so that's a pretty big distinction if you're wanting to save money on gas, or if gas is super expensive wherever you live. I do want to point out though that the Carnival is still front wheel drive only, so that's one thing that really is kind of disappointing compared to some of the other minivans that you can buy, namely the Sienna and the Pacifica include all-wheel drive. So that's, a big distinction, and one of the big reasons why I think people probably might pick a Telluride over this is because of that all-wheel drive missing.
Now let's jump into today's Slam Dunk and Airball. I will begin with the Slam Dunk, and that's the value proposition of the Carnival. This is a vehicle that I think really packs in a lot of features for the money. The price isn't all that different from the competition, but at each respective trim level, you're just getting more features on board compared to those rivals.
Yeah, especially I think if you get like an EX trim, that has such a good deal for the low $40,000 price point, especially now for 27 that you can get that night package too.
Yes.
Now on the flip side, our Airball today is just going to be the lack of all-wheel drive. I kind of already touched on that, so I'm not going to go into too much more of that, but I really think that's kind of a big deal to a lot of minivan buyers, and they're probably losing a lot of buyers, especially on the hybrid side, to the Sienna, just because of the lack of all-wheel drive. So I wish Kia had updated that with the refresh, but we probably will have to wait for a all-new generation of the Carnival before we get all-wheel drive. So we start at $37,000 for 2027, and of course you can see the full lineup of prices on the screen right now. Now we have a 27 Carnival SX, so this is a pretty high equipped model, but not the fully loaded example. $46,590 is our base price. We also have a few options on this particular model. $15,455 destination. We're sitting at $50,265 as tested today. If you're curious as to where it's manufactured, that is going to be in Korea. And if you're looking to buy a Kia Carnival or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out Car Confections confections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use if you plan on doing dealership negotiation. You can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But what about Kia's resale reliability and warranty? First up, let's talk about resale value. Kia as a brand is rated at 49.02% of estimated retained value after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles at 21.13%. It's worth noting that those are right at the industry average for all vehicle brands. However, it is going to be less than its main competition, such as Toyota with the Sienna and Honda in its Odyssey.
Now we also have reliability information with the Combined Reliability Index. Updated with the latest data, Kia is rated above the overall industry average compared to all other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, reliability data, or our methodology, you can find that all on our website, carconfections.com. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 5-year, 60,000 mile basic warranty, a 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty, which is better than most of the rivals, although you do not get any complimentary maintenance. And guys, that wraps up one of the first in-depth reviews of the 2027 Kia Carnival. If you enjoyed hearing about these 2027 changes for this important minivan, we'd appreciate you subscribing down below and becoming a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and we strive to provide you all with the latest and greatest reviews. So please subscribe. I promise you won't regret it. If you're already a part of our family, thank you for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.